Hey everyone, welcome to Trailblaze Your Path podcast. I'm very excited to be interviewing Grace Stein. She is the marketing coordinator for Bannister Auto Group out in Canada. And I just so excited to be interviewing you right now. Just our pre-conversation. You have such a great story, and I think everyone needs to hear it.
Yeah, I'm so excited. Thank you for having me. I'm definitely excited.
Yeah, so let's start with just your journey in automotive. What made you choose getting a degree? Because I think that's awesome too, like how you were getting your degree, and that's not something I don't think is talked about enough about getting a degree in automotive.
Yeah, totally. So I was kind of born and raised into the auto industry. My dad owns an auto repair shop out in a small town in Ontario where I'm from. My grandpa opened it like over 50 years ago, and both of them still work there and run it together. So within that, I kind of grew up around cars and that sort of thing. My mom and my dad are both drag racers. So at the time when I
Wait,
was,
what? They're
yeah,
drag racers?
yeah,
That's
yeah.
so cool. Okay.
So my mom had a car at the time and my dad had a motorcycle. So I spent every summer at the racetrack. I remember at the end of the school year, like in the summertime, in the warmer months, my parents were picking me up early with like the trailer on the back of the truck. Everybody was like coming to the window to see it. So I just kind of like grew up only knowing cars. I didn't really have any other like academic hobbies. Like I always excelled really well in school, but I never like nothing really stuck to me. I never was really drawn to like the sciences or specifically math, but I did love high school auto shop. I had an amazing auto teacher. His name was Mr. Guppy, and he really prioritized women in the auto industry. He really advocated for me and gave me the
Is that
confidence
where
I
you
needed.
learned about the college? Did you know about going to
Yeah, so I
college?
actually had no idea that you could study automotive business or automotive management, and Mr. Guppy was actually the one that told me like, like you can study the business side of it because he knew that I liked cars, but he also always made comments about how I always had my nails done. And he was like, that's not going to get you very far in a shop. So he was the one that was like, you can study the business side of it. And then from that point on, I think I was in grade 10, so I was probably 15. As soon as he told me about it, I went home and like looked it up and I was like, nope, this is where I'm going from here on out. Like from grade 10 and onwards, I knew that I was just going to be going to the automotive business school.
And
And
how
we,
long has it been that you've been going?
so I'm in my fourth year now. I just started my fourth year, but it's the only place in Canada that you can get a degree in automotive business or a degree in automotive business or a diploma or a degree in automotive business in all of Canada. So it's a really unique program and it's been like absolutely amazing.
That's amazing. So this is your last year then. You're
It
you're
is,
almost
yeah.
done.
Yeah.
And then so from what I understand, with that program or going to school, you're also able to actively work, and that's how you're working with, or there's, what is it called? You're able to work with different groups
Yeah,
throughout to get
so
experience.
Yeah, so we get three co-op placements in the four-year degree, and they all happen at different times of the year just because we recognize how different the auto industry is depending on the time of year. So this is my final co-op, which allowed me 4 months where I could move from Ontario out to Kelowna, BC, and work with Bannister Auto Group.
So what has that experience been, and how long has it been that you've been working with Bannister?
Since September. So only a few months, but
Oh,
it's
okay.
yeah, but it's been like nothing short of amazing. It's been like one of the healthiest work environments I've ever worked in. The people here were so welcoming. I didn't feel like I was being treated like a student. Like I felt like I was an employee right away. My boss, like I definitely could feel his trust in me. He knew that I knew what I was doing. He knew that I had the education and fully trusted me to just come in and do what I needed to do. I feel like I really adjusted to the work environment really easily. And like the Bannister family made it so easy for me. They're so lovely and so nice that it just like it truly does just feel like a family, which is a really cool experience.
Yeah, they have a good reputation, and they're very active in providing training, support, and just supporting their employees. What is your favorite thing or favorite part about what you're doing right now with Bannister, like as your role as marketing coordinator?
I think my favorite part has been so I work 2 days a week at our head office as like an official marketing coordinator, but then I'm also what you would call like the social media manager for our Kelowna dealership. So I work there 3 days a week. I run their social platforms and their like media strategies. It's been a really cool experience because I'm learning at head office and they're teaching me all these like marketing tactics and whatnot, and then I'm going to the dealership and actually getting to apply them and teach them, like teach the people at the dealership why marketing is important and what it kind of looks like, what I do in a day. So that was like it's been a really cool experience getting to like learn, but also get to teach because I truly believe that the best way you do learn is by teaching.
That's
Um,
so true. Yeah.
Yeah, so it felt good that like they trusted in me to go and manage this dealership social media all on my own and just completely they've let me completely take it over and do it, which has been really unique and really cool.
Yeah, that is really cool. And I think when we talked to, there was something about a college auto show that you were the director of media and marketing for that. So what was that like, or is that still something that you're doing too?
Yeah, so the Georgian College Auto Show is it's the largest outdoor student-run auto show in Canada, and it's put on by the automotive business students every year. And every year they hire 5 students who work from September to June to coordinate and run the show. And then those students, it's a paid position. Those students go on the task of hiring the other students who are going to run the individual booths and whatnot. So, like I said, there's
Wow.
only 5 directors a year. So, I did it in my second year. So, I was in second year. All the other directors were in their fourth and final year. And that was a crazy learning experience for me. That was an amazing, amazing experience to learn, just to get to witness these like industry professionals you get to work with. I was visiting like Mazda Canada headquarters, GM Canada, Ford Canada. I was visiting these head offices and speaking in front of these people, and it was really, really cool experience. I remember
Yeah.
I got to speak to the Canadian Auto Show Circuit board members, and I kind of talked about my story and how I got into the auto industry, and they stood up and I got a round of applause from people, which was really, really unique to see these like people that you've always looked up to kind of like crediting me and like telling me that they think what I'm doing is great. You only get 1 term as a director, so I just help out with the auto show from here on out. I'm also the president of the Automotive Business Student Association, so that kind of takes up a lot of my time at school now. So I do a lot of stuff for them and less stuff for the auto show, but I still do try to support the auto show best I can.
Yeah, and I think that that's a really cool thing that the college does that because it does teach you a lot about the shows because there's a lot of shows and conventions that, in the business that we attend or go to and just knowing how to do that and working in the background to coordinate all of that. Like what an experience.
Yeah, no, it totally is super cool, especially because it is a requirement to graduate. So you have to partake in the auto show at least to some degree. So it is really cool to like telling my other friends who aren't in the automotive business program. I'm like, yeah, like this is fun, but this is like what I'm doing for a grade. So it's kind of cool.
Yeah, you get credit and the real life experience.
Yeah,
There was something about, don't you have a name on social media? What is it? Car Girl Grace? Is that
I
what it is?
do. Yeah, yeah.
Because you too drag race.
Yes, I do.
Yes.
I
So
do.
let's talk about that. So how did the name start? What's the whole like presence of the Car Girl Grace and the drag? I want to tie all of those questions into one.
Yeah, absolutely.
So,
So, like I said earlier, my parents were both drag racers. I grew up going to the track. And then when I got older, before I had my driver's license, my parents tried to get me into racing. I wanted no part in it. I thought it was so scary. I liked it better from the sidelines. But then as soon as I got my driver's license, I was like, you know what? Like, I'll take a stab at it. So I now race my mom's car that she used to drag race. And I do it just very casually as kind of like just like a fun thing for my parents and I to do together. So every summer we'll go down to the track. I'll make a couple hits on my mom's car, and it is super cool because I'm racing against people that my parents used to race against. So now that they're kind of on the sidelines watching me, I'm racing my parents' friends, and it's like kind of a fun little joke because they saw me literally grow up. I was at my first drag race when I was 6 months old, so it was definitely like really cool for them to get to like kind of see me progress in that aspect. And then as for Cargirl Grace, I started Cargirl Grace I started at the automotive business school, and it was during COVID. My first year was completely online, so I couldn't meet anybody. I couldn't go in person. I was very, very like, just like, it was COVID. It was
yeah.
lockdown. And
Yeah, you couldn't do anything.
yeah,
Yeah.
like I commuted back and forth from school, so it's not like I moved out either. Like I was just stuck at home. All my friends had moved away for their universities, and I kind of like recognized like what I'm doing is really cool. I recognize that there are not a lot of females in automotive, and I think when I joined that program, I noticed even how less it was. So I created this like online persona just to like post about the fun car stuff I'm doing, and then it started to gain traction. And now like when I do go to events, I like often I'll hear people come up behind me like, "Are you Car Girl Grace? Like, are you Car Girl Grace?" Which is it's really really cool
How
and really fun to see.
fun.
Yeah, no,
Isn't
it's
that such
super
a cool
cool.
experience when people are like, they recognize you when you've been online and then you finally get to meet in person. They're like, oh my gosh, you're Car Girl Grace, or, it's such a
Yeah.
cool thing.
Yeah, no, it's
Um,
really unique, especially because I do look up to so many people in the auto industry. And I remember Andrew Ojime he works for Auto IQ. He's I think the CEO, but he, like, his wife came up to me at an event and she was like, "Are you Cargo Grace?" And I turned around and I was like, "You're Andrew's." Like, it was just like such a surreal experience. I'm like, "You think I'm cool? I think you're cool." Like, so
I definitely resonate with that because I started the Parts Girl and that similar during COVID, it's like you couldn't really talk to anyone. You wanted to share stuff and yeah. And then when you get to meet people, they're like, "Are you Parts Girl?" And I'm like, "Oh my gosh, you know who I am?" It's
yeah.
such a cool thing.
Yeah.
And I think everyone should do that. Anything that you are super passionate about doing, just start sharing it on social media and it's amazing how much it'll grow and then you get to connect with people because we got connected through, mutual people on,
Yeah.
in the group of Bannister. So it's just
Yeah.
amazing. I think it was Brendan, right? Or something
Yeah.
like that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So what was my next thing? Oh, I wanted to go back to the drag racing because I just think that's the coolest thing ever.
Yeah, sure.
Um, and so, okay, how fast are you going when you're drag racing and you're competing against people?
So in Canada, we use kilometers,
Oh,
but
shoot.
in drag racing terms, we use miles. So I think my top speed was 120 miles an hour, which I think evens out to about 200 kilometers an hour.
Okay, good. I'm
Yeah.
glad you did all that math. So, people.
Yeah.
That's fast. That's so
Yeah.
fun. Okay, so what's your favorite part about drag racing and that whole experience or that environment? What is the best part?
I love that I get to do it with my parents. I love that I get to do it with my whole family. My brother's in the race industry, just in like a different sector, and I just love that. I don't know, I never grew up like I did not play like any like team sports growing up. I didn't play soccer or like hockey. Like I just raced cars, which was like a really unique experience, but it's a fun bonding thing for my parents. And I like as much as they're like my dad's like my coach for sure and he's definitely been hard on me at times, but that's how you get good at things. And I've always wanted to go faster. I'm dying to eventually upgrade and get like a really like real race car. But my dad's always saying like you have to learn to walk before you can run. But it's just like it's super fun that I get to do it with my family and I go to the track that my parents grew up racing at, so it's really fun. I can sometimes hear them like announce me when I'm coming up to the line and they just like love to talk about my parents and everybody there still knows us from when they used to race. So it's just like it's just a truly like a wholesome, very fun experience.
Family thing. Yeah, I love that. I mean, you guys get to do it together. And you
Yeah.
said your brother does it too.
He does, yeah. So my brother, he's dabbled in all sorts of things. He was on Team Canada for BMX a couple years ago, and he recently, like he's a professional snowmobile racer. So
Wow.
he races snowmobiles. He's crazy. He's a lot cooler than I am. I'll always tell people that. Like he is wild. He just all the crazy things. I like to keep very straight, flat ground.
Yeah, I could,
Yeah.
yeah. That's cool that you guys both get to do all of that together.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then that's kind of like my other question was like I think you mentioned it's kind of like a hobby, so it's not like you're, you're racing that much, but do you have to balance or like how do you balance that hobby or that passion as well as going to school? Yeah.
I would say like it because it is something that I do very like low key. It's always been like pretty easy. I'll like usually leave on a Friday and then just take the weekend and go and do it. That's always been pretty easy. And then like if I've had co-ops and stuff like that, they've always been really supportive of it. My school's really good because the people that work at that school also love cars, so they completely understand and know. I have some friends who race at a very high level, way higher than I do, and they've like missed tests and things like that because they've had to be leaving for racing, but that's always been worked around. Like we'll either write the test the day before or we'll make some way to make it work, which is really really nice that you're like my school is willing to always like support me in that aspect. Yeah, so it's never really been like a huge problem just because it is something that I've never let be too stressful for me. I try to just do it and enjoy it as more of like a fun weekend thing with my parents.
Yeah, and that makes it less stressful. And I think when we talked to you, there's something about like you helped your dad with content creation with his career and things that he's doing. What was that like? Or was he very, how did that help you in what you're doing now, I guess?
So I've always loved videos and stuff like that. And I remember like even as young, I was probably like 12 or 13 and I was learning how to like edit videos on my phone. I would film my brother at his races and I would like edit them and put like crazy sounds over them and all that stuff. So I always kind of had a little bit of knowledge on social media. And then obviously I started Cargirl Grace. And then right around the time that I also started Cargirl Grace, my dad started his online persona as Drag Boat Garage because he now races drag boats and builds drag boats instead of cars. So he started posting and just like asking me little like tips and tricks about like I would help him make a thumbnail or I would help him make an intro, like little things like that. And I remember one year for Christmas I got him like a little glow, it lights up, it says on air, so like he puts it in the garage every time he's like filming so we know not to bother him. But just like little things that I got to help with that, like help him with, was really really cool for me because like my dad and my mom have been like my biggest supporters like literally ever. Like they're honestly the best. Anything I've ever wanted to do, I've put my mind to it. My parents have helped me make it happen. So it was really, really cool that like my dad has taught me and helped me with so much. So it's kind of neat that I get to help him on that aspect and kind of show
Yeah.
him like which that I have, teach him about the things that I've learned in my time in the auto industry. And we get to kind of like really apply them together, which is like a really, really fun and it's a unique kind of duo we are, but we work well together. So
Oh man, that's really cool that you guys can work well together because I feel like with some parents and family, it's hard to work well. So it's great that you guys have
totally.
that. Yeah. What are your plans after graduation? Like, do you have anything lined up or like what does that look like?
So I don't have anything specifically lined up yet. My like most ideal path right now for me is I would love to return to the Bannister Auto Group, whether that's just at a dealership level or back at the head office doing marketing. Like I said, they've been so lovely to me, and I feel like it's really important when you have a good boss to hold on to that. And because my team here has been like so good at guiding me, I would love to come back full time when I graduate and move back to Kelowna just because BC is so beautiful. It's a really fun town to live in. And I would be silly, I feel like, to pass up on an opportunity to work at such a great place. But like brand specifically, like regardless of brand, I would love to just work in marketing. I've always wanted to kind of climb the corporate ladder. I always tell people, if you ask any of my friends, they'll tell you that I always tell people I'm going to be a CEO one day. I want to be a CEO of GM Canada or something like that, maybe own my own dealer group at this point. So I do have very, very high goals set for myself, but I like it that way. I feel like
You
that's
should. Yeah.
somebody's got to
It's
somebody's got to do it. So,
it's
and
it's not the sky's the limit. There's no limit. It's just like
exactly,
you can
yeah.
do yeah.
Yeah,
It's
my dad's
and
always
you
told me to like reach above the stars and like that's what I completely plan on doing. I love the auto industry, but I would love to break in to my full-time career through marketing and through content creation and then kind of like see where that takes me.
Oh yeah, it's you can do anything with marketing and especially in automotive, I feel like it's such a there's such a I don't want to say a missed opportunity, but something that it's just not something that's very understood or it's very all over the place, I guess.
Yeah,
I don't know
totally.
where the right way to describe that, but you know what I'm talking about.
Oh,
And
absolutely.
yeah, so it's there's so much opportunity with marketing and especially automotive, I guess is the
Yeah.
point. Yeah. It's something I love. I really love it. I love that for me, I'm in sales and marketing, so I get to have that adrenaline of sales, but then
Mhm.
that behind the scenes creative like marketing piece too. It
Totally.
fulfills so much and I'm like so happy I get to do both. But some days I'm like, man, I wish I could just hide and not be in
Yeah,
sales.
yeah,
But
yeah,
then I love it too because I get to put I it's such a challenge.
yeah.
It's a very, yeah. Just I don't know if you've experienced sales yet, but it's something else.
Yeah, yeah.
So let's talk about, I guess, some advice that you would give women that are coming into the industry or interested. Um, what would like the number one piece of advice you would give after what you've learned so far?
I think if I were, even I like to think about a lot if I was speaking to myself in high school. I know like auto is a very intimidating topic for a lot of kids, like women especially. It can be really scary considering we are majorly outnumbered by men, and that can be definitely intimidating. But if I were to give advice even to like my younger self or to anyone looking to get into the auto industry, I would say you just got to do it. Don't listen to anything that anybody says about you, and you can work on cars with nails. That's
You
another good
can.
piece of advice. You totally can. But just to put yourself out there and be confident in what you know. One of my favorite quotes I heard at a conference a couple years ago was, "There's no comfort in the growth zone and no growth in the comfort zone." And that's been really important to me in my journey, because I have had uncomfortable periods and I have had these like awkward in between stages and these like moments of unknown and uncertainty. But I think that's where I like learned to thrive the most, was just when I finally like disregarded anything that anybody said to me. Obviously, you're going to have the people that have their opinions. I still get people like I get the odd hate comment. I get the feedback from people, but I think it's important just to know what you know and be confident in what you know, and disregard what anyone else has to say, but be confident in what you know and know that what you bring to the table is valid and it's important. And yeah, just do
Don't
it. Just
listen to anyone.
yeah, don't listen to
I
anyone.
think
Do what you
that's
want to do.
Yeah, that's the biggest thing. I think as you get more experience or you grow more, I just looking back personally too, like to my high school self, like there's so many things. If I would have listened to people, I wouldn't be where I am now. Like you have to like have that balance because of course you want to not be so like what's the word? Like you want to listen to people's advice,
Yeah.
but you don't want to fully like run your life based on what people think you should do. I think that's the
Yeah.
point. Like
Yeah.
you do want to listen to people and their advice
Don't
or
be
what they have to say.
closed-minded, but be
Yes.
open-minded, but be set in your path, and yeah, for sure.
Yeah. Yeah. It's a balance for sure because there are some advice that I would have wish I would have taken from people and I'm like, no, I'm going to do this,
Yeah,
looking back,
totally.
but it all works out. Everything works out
Absolutely.
and you do go through those ups and downs of growth and comfortableness and uncomfortableness, and then that's just life. It's
Absolutely.
just life.
Absolutely.
All right, so as we wrap up, I wanted to do some like fire questions of like, I guess what's other than drag racing and, marketing, is there anything else that you're super excited about or doing or working towards? What do you think about podcasting? I feel like that would be great for you for
Um,
your brand.
yeah, I've always wanted to start my own podcast. I've always brainstormed, and I have a podcast account, like a Spotify podcast account, because I've been reserving the name Grace's Garage for when I do have my own podcast. I think that would be really cool. I think that would be really fun. I think I have a lot of network connections in the industry that it would be really cool to like get their story out there. And I love podcasts myself. My part-time job, when I am in school, I work at a radio station. We have a podcast. So that kind of like showed me how many people are listening to radio, people listen to podcasts, how popular podcasts are becoming, which was really, really cool. Yeah, definitely something I would love to like take on my own and try for sure.
Yeah, you definitely should. It's probably the best way to create content and even just getting comfortable. I mean, not that you're not comfortable in front of the camera, but because you've done it beautifully with this your first podcast, right?
Yeah.
I think.
Yeah.
But it's just one of those things where you can get so much information and you learn so much. Like I feel like
Completely.
I get to learn so much from everyone I get to interview. And it's so cool to just like learn and highlight you. Like this has
Yeah.
been great. So,
Yeah,
yeah.
absolutely.
Thank you for taking the time. Is there anything that you want to add or share, as we say goodbye?
No, not necessarily. Obviously, thank you for having me. I'm so glad that I get to kind of like put myself out there in this aspect and share my story with people. It's been like super, super cool.
Yeah. You have a great story. I think you've done all the right things of getting the experience where you need to, and you have a huge, bright future. And I'm excited to do this in another couple years and see where you are.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. I appreciate that.
Yeah, thank you. Thanks so much for joining me on the Trailblaze Your Path podcast. I hope you're leaving us inspired. If you enjoyed the show, don't forget to subscribe, rate, and leave a review. It really helps. Follow me on social media, check out our YouTube channel for more content, and remember, new episodes drop every other Friday. Keep blazing your own trail, and I'll catch up with you next time.